Hi everyone, welcome to our last summary of our course of HSAM 1275. I just wanted to give a brief overview of last week and talk a little bit about this week and go over a few quiz questions. Before I get going, I did want to share that this week, myself, Dr. Frendak, and Dr. Hampy, who are the three full-time faculty in the program, are all going to be at the ACHE Congress. Sadly, there won't be anyone around, although it's spring break, so there really isn't much of anybody around anyway. Not spring break for you guys, though, unfortunately. But if you need one of us for an advising issue or obviously a course issue, some of you may be in class with Dr. Hampy or Dr. Frendak starting on Saturday. Please just let us know. Drop us a note is probably the best way to get in touch with us over the next week or so. Just wanted to talk a little bit about week 7. So it was financial management and economics. This is a very important topic, as I mentioned in last week's video, mainly because if it wasn't for the financial side, reimbursement, financial side of our operations, we wouldn't be able to provide clinical care. So it's often overlooked, but probably one of the most important areas for us to focus on from the point of view of an administrator, because we really need to understand the economics and the financial function of our facilities. So hopefully you had got a good overview between the text, and then I had put up a few videos. And with regard to the issues of healthcare spending, and we talk about healthcare spending in our discussion last week, there are the entire spending structure of our healthcare system is way out of control. So learning about the ways that we can hopefully improve these rising costs, maybe turn the tide on that, are all important things to talk about. So things like wellness programs, making sure that people are staying well, things like care coordination or patient-centered medical homes are all ways that we can start to keep costs down and hopefully turn the rising tide on these healthcare costs. So good discussion on that last week in our discussions throughout. So I think that's probably about it from last week. We had the case studies. I haven't taken a look at them yet, so more to come on those throughout the week. So let's take a look at our quiz quick. I did review. I have 4 questions here to review. Generally, people did really well on the quiz, so not very many folks got these wrong, but worth taking a look at them anyway. So the first question is, efforts to control the costs of Medicare have been undertaken via legislation mandated to create prospective payment systems for. So this question, it's kind of a trick question. I apologize for that. But so the correct answer is physicians using RBRVS, or the Resource-Based Relative Value Scale. All of these others, the RUGs, DRGs, and HHRGs, are all prospective payment systems, as we're talking about up here, but they don't match with their given facility. So hospitals don't use RUGs, they use DRGs. Skilled nursing facilities don't use DRGs, they actually use RUGs. And hospital outpatient departments don't use HHRGs, those are home health resource groups. Hospital outpatient departments use a system called APCs, which is entirely different. So they're all prospective payment systems, but these 3 are not matched up with their particular provider, be it hospital, skilled nursing, etc. Physicians do use the Resource-Based Relative Value Scale, so that is why that was the correct answer. And the basic premise of these programs, as you hopefully learned from the textbook, is that you are, rather than just a physician sending in a bill for $150 and getting payment of $150, it's based on some arbitrary value. So with regard to RBRVS, it happens to be work, malpractice, and an overhead, a practice cost or an overhead amount. So there's the physician's actual work, malpractice piece, which is very small, and then that overhead piece, and they all have values based on the CPT code that is submitted by the physician. So important to know that that's how they're controlling things in the physician setting. But for example, like DRGs, which are used in the hospital setting, they're controlling cost by limiting payment to again, kind of an arbitrary figure, but it's based on the diagnosis of the patient that is in the inpatient setting, as well as any major procedures that they may have had, or what are called OR procedures, so things they went to the operating room for. So OR procedures and diagnosis are what drive the DRG selection, which then drives payment. So everyone that comes in with a certain set of diagnoses and procedures will get the same payment, whether they're in the hospital for 10 days, 5 days, 2 days, same payment regardless. So so they're just ways that that we're driving down cost in those settings. Next one, oops, I think I went too far. There we go. Next one kind of relates back to what we were just talking about. Medicare Prospective Payment System for reimbursing hospitals utilizes DRGs, or diagnosis-related groups, and I just talked a bit about that, so I won't belabor that point. Next question, which type of HMO offers the most flexibility for participating physicians? So the closed panel, open panel HMOs are true HMO settings. A closed panel HMO, the physician will actually work for the HMO, and they will not see any patients outside of that HMO. So not much flexibility at all. An open panel HMO is slightly more flexible, where physicians contract directly with an HMO to to provide services to their panel of patients, and then they may be able to see patients outside of that as well. But it's still somewhat restrictive because of the contract that is provided by the physician to the HMO to the physician, etc. An independent practice association is exactly what it sounds like. It's an association of doctors, a group of doctors that come together, and they, as an organization, contract with a payer, an HMO, that wants them to provide some services. They don't drive the patient, or they don't drive the provider's entire patient base. It's just another one of the insurances that they participate with. So it has a lot of flexibility for physicians. They can see all sorts of patients outside of the IPA. It's just that's just one of the payers that they participate with. So very flexible. Next question is the last one. Primary preparers of the capital budget requests, or of capital budget requests, are the. And our correct answer, obviously you can see the remaining answers there, but our correct answer is department managers. So this is why it's so important that as a healthcare administration major, that you get a pretty good dose of both finance and economics, starting here, but then in either 2300 or 2350 you'll get 2 weeks of it, and then you'll take three different finance classes, finance and economics. So it's an important area that we need to cover at a detailed level, because the expectation is that you, in conjunction with folks in finance, but you as a manager in a facility, are responsible for creating your budget requests, and not just capital budget, all budget requests. So if you are looking to expand budget in a smaller area, maybe you want to expand your personnel budget, etc. Those requests are all, they start out with the department manager. So you need to understand what is the process for budgeting, how do you how do you analyze data, whatnot. So as we get into the higher level classes, you will see more of that, and we'll actually look at budgets and how budgets are put together, etc. So hopefully that'll be helpful to you. So week 8, I'll just talk about briefly. As I'd mentioned a couple different times in the classroom, week 8 is a short week. We are done on Friday. You have, if you're taking online classes in the second half, if you're taking online classes in the second half, it starts on Saturday. If you're taking our HSA class that's on ground in the second 8 weeks, I'm teaching that. It starts on Tuesday. But regardless, the classes are they officially start on Saturday overall. The next term does, or next 8 weeks. So that's why we finish up on Friday instead of going through to Sunday. However, your week 8 work is pretty light. There's a video about medical terminology, a couple of glossaries, whatnot. We do have a discussion board to be involved in. But this medical terminology assignment, I would suggest probably, unless you have the ability to turn a PDF into a form that you can fill out, I would suggest just downloading it, printing it, and handwriting the assignment. It's probably the easiest way to do it. But some people have the full Adobe Acrobat software, and they can turn the PDF into a form that they can fill out. Whichever is fine with me. That's whatever works for you. And then this discussion board here, this discussion 2, this is an optional discussion board. So we're looking for feedback. We're always looking for feedback, but obviously we can't force you to put feedback. So if I would encourage you to share any feedback that you would about the course, things that you liked, things you didn't like, etc. And so this is helpful to us so that we can continue to improve. Obviously, everyone gets a survey, and hopefully you'll fill that out as well. But this is a little more personal, gives you the opportunity to share a little bit more information. And we really do take all of this and turn it into better courses for the future. So I would encourage you to do that if you wouldn't mind. So it's been great working with everyone this term. I'm sure I will be seeing you in the future because I teach a good number of the classes in the undergraduate program. But if I'm not going to see you again, I wish you well in your continued work here at RMU. And please, anyone, feel free to reach out if there's anything I can help you with in the future. Thanks so much.